Chapter 3. After the short stroll to the wharf, Warble and Mary are about to board the ferry that will take them across Lake Superior to Madeline Island. Walking on the pier, deep in thought, Warble stops dead in his tracks as if his shoes have been superglued to the wharf. He allows Mary to continue walking until he thinks she is out of earshot. He then switches the video camera back on and pans the horizon. He records boats, quaint homes perched on the hillsides above town, punctuated now and then by the odd mansion here or there, the massive lake, and the islands visible from the dock. In a subdued voice, Warble begins narrating the scene. Mary has been shanghaied and placed on a slave ship bound for some sweatshop somewhere in the interior of China, that vast and inscrutable country, where she will work 17 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the approximate equivalent of around 12 cents an hour. Of course, they will deduct room and board from her paltry wages, and she will end up with absolutely nothing for her toil and trouble. She will owe her soul to the company store, as the old Alabama Bert Chevy song says. Her only form of respite and recreation, her only escape from the tedium, will be the odd cricket fight. Actually, I could refer to them as the odd cricket fight because they will be not only odd as in occasional or here and there, but also odd as in strange. If one or more of the participating crickets is him or herself odd to boot, one could even term these contests, in that case, an odd cricket fight. And if 3 crickets were involved instead of the customary 2, for example, if the fight promoters were to pit the Shaquille O'Neal of crickets against a pair more closely resembling David Robinson and Tim Duncan, they could call it the odd cricket fight, as an odd number 3 of crickets would be involved in the feat of strength, endurance, cunning, and all that rot. That would be really odd. But enough of that. So who is this walking ahead of me, you ask? It is either a robot, built to look somewhat like Mary. After all, they didn't do that good a job. It doesn't look exactly like her. Or an actress working on a pro bono basis. Once they get my stash of ideas, they will cash in and live like royalty for the rest of their born days. Warble squints at Mary, trying to ascertain who it really is exactly who is masquerading as his wife. Somewhat to his consternation, she has been able to hear his running commentary and confronts him about it. Don't give me that malarkey, Warble replies as she protests against his suppositions. Those robot makers or makeup artists will have to get up a little earlier in the morning than what they did to get the better of me. You, he jabs his index finger at her, aren't Mary, and you know it. You resemble Mary to a certain extent, but a half-crazed, blind in one eye, duck-billed platypus would know you're not really her. Warble cocks his head, squints at Mary, and says, I think you're either Britney Spears wearing makeup or Phyllis Diller without. Oh, Warble, Mary sighs, exasperated. Aha! I've got you now, you wannabe silver-tongued devilette. Mary never calls me Warble. She calls me Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, Warble retorts. I do not, Mary replies incredulously. Warble glares and then frowns, shrugging his shoulders. All right, she doesn't. Apparently they briefed you well. I was trying to trap you, and I must admit that this time I failed. But I will find a way, this I promise you, Ms. Spears or Diller or whatever your name is, Warble threatens, wagging his finger in her face. I will secure my belongings. You will have gone to all this trouble for nothing, and I will recapture and reclaim my rightful spouse from the clutches of your diabolical organization." Mary spins around and stalks up the plank and onto the ferry. Warble follows at a distance, keeping a suspicious eye on her every move.